Sanibonani, welcome to Daily Thetha. Igama lami ngukini waka Shandu, and namhlanje sikhuluma about this outbreak ethusa abantu abaningi listeriosis, and abantu bazibuza ukuthi senze njani makusesikhathini esinjengalesi. Health Minister Mzansi on a Sunday uthelile ukuthi let's avoid i-cold meat nepaloni because lezo zinto nama-viennas zonke into ongasuyicabanga sizenza ukuthi sibe sesimeni lapho singazithola sisenkingeni khona about this new disease, the outbreak esanda kuvela njengamanje esithuse abantu abaningi. What I found out from us esidla amakota elokishini ukuthi simbe kanjani isimo from people abawenzayo bona amakota as well, ukuthi how is this going to affect the business, and also to abantu abahambisa abantwana esikoleni babenzela ama lunchbox as well, ukuthi yini abazoyisebenzisa to make sure ukuthi basebenzisa enye because abantwana kumele bedlile egcineni nakho konke. Sizine discussion esithayifana nale nanokuthi wena ekhaya uzowenza kanjani after this, ama precautions owathathayo after usuzile about this outbreak eliseriousness. Sanibonani emakhaya.
Dumelang rala amagela nakalibitso ke na Nicolette wa ga Mashile ngwana wa kwa Bushbuck Mapulaneng e atolwa ka matsogo yena ke Sesi Fortune wa ga Madlala. Today I level fela just listeriosis but level the other diseases they didn't the outbreak in South Africa, and we want to get understand gore na di cause king na, and why is it that it seems as if government ya rona a kgone go control. We know that this has been the worst outbreak of listeriosis across the entire world, and this is just something that is happening in South Africa. Why is it happening? What's actually causing it, and how do we control it? Maybe sometimes because we're eating genetically modified food, is that the reason why we're having these kind of situations? That's what we're going to be talking about on Daily Thetha today.
Give us a call. It's 011-339-1315 or standele einkundleni zokuxhumana Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Uyasithola khona siza ukuthi umbono wakho uthina but utabala namhlanje, but asimukele wonke umuntu osemakhaya nola studio. Welcome to Daily Thetha. Asqale on your side, Nicolette. Ufuna ukwazi ukuthi ever since usuzwile about this listeriosis ephumile, especially Mzansi uminisa sitshela ukuthi kokuphi ukudla simele si-avoid, wenze njani wena njengomhlali?
Ndiyabulisa nonke, igama lami ndingu-Asiphe. Sivile ngalento yenzekileyo sothukile because asiyazi noba sizithathe sizilahle okanye sizithini. Abanye bathi sizogula, abanye bathi akho nto masitye social media doctor masitye, so asiyazi phinde kuthiwe ingu-30%, so we like asiyazi
30% yani
i-lister le nto yakhona ino-30% ekhona, so asiyazi noba sitye okanye u-30% ngomphi pha kula French asenoba
so kwamele ukhethe kuze kule poloni i-round kuno-30%.
Exactly, so we confused asiyazi basithini.
Sure, this is quite a serious matter, the fact that there is information and misinformation that is flowing around the social media. Mama, where did you find out about listeriosis?
Ndifumene social media on Facebook.
Okay, so you found on Facebook, and that is the question, which information sources do we really trust? And I think that's something that we need to be discussing also on Daily Thetha.
Ezokumbula kahle Nicolette ngisakhuluma nana ukuthi kunabantu abangakwazi access le information abasendaweni ezisemakhaya bona ngicabanga ukuthi abanye baze bayithola kuyo social media ukuthi hayibo khona izinto kumele ningabe nisazidla njengamanje. Musa, ungomunye wabantu othi wena ngokwakho ever since usuzwile about this listeriosis but ipoloni yakho uthenga kuze ukwazi ukuthi uyikhiphe efridgini, why?
Okay, ngiyabingelela igama lami umuzi. I-reason ukuthi ngingayikhipha ukuthi because nazifika lezi ndaba lezi mina yami ipoloni bese ivela ikhona efridgini, yabona. So manje the thing is I don't know ukuthi should I throw it away or ngiyikhiphe because yami I see indala.
So eyakho ubona ukuthi indala affectekanga kakhulu.
That's what I think. That's why it's a fridge.
But to Minister usimusile ekutheni to get rid of this cold meat, and also ama shops amaningi bathi ubuyisele back la uthenga khona bazokwazi ukuthi bagrefund. Why ungasebenzisanga ama options afana lawo?
Into enze ukuthi ngasebenzisa lama option labo is because of njoba ngisho ukuthi ngithenge January kahle kahle. So manje nasengibisela and then bazomuza ngithenge nini, and then nangithi January, and then it won't make sense to them. So that's why maybe we into ngibambile.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ngokuhamba kohlelo namhlanje Nicolette bese unpack izinto ezithayifana lezo ukuthi let's say now so uyithengile ke do you need a slip ukuthi uyibisela back, or you just buyisela nje any product ekhona bakwazi ukuthi bakubuyisela imali yakho nokuthi process yakho ithatha isikhathi esingakanani, because abantu abaningi bakhala ukuthi grocery bayithenga ngo-month end, abanye bayikuthenga mhla 25 and this thing is over on a Sunday. Benze njani about the food? That's a question.
You know, Kini, more than go reka grocery early in the month, there's also the situation ya gore gabuche bana ba go tlala scaffolding tsa bona go dula go na le paloni, go dula na le Russian, go dula na le Vienna. Mama, a re botse situation ya gago now go makega eng family ya gago?
Ngigama lami uPatience Nyakana. Mina nangwana ndlwini. So ngwana melo ka xikolweni every day ulonga xinkwa na paloni. So loko ntoma kale wa ku ri akumilanga alonga paloni ni confusing nyana because of already senshavile fridge na me swikona. And for me ku sentekanya lahla or ni bisela shop and na sleepy ni bana challenge nyana and na yelo ku apfuka na mpunzu u tolovelile ku mfaka xinkwa xibana paloni or ration or something. So loko ka xikolweni u ri mama no me lava paloni. Sena menu no never uteka paloni because of umtsongo na 5 years. So anga understand ukuri why today ngafambi na paloni. Uri okay mama ke mina laba xinkwa na paloni okay nifakile paloni but anifaka nga paloni fake rama nse aya xikolweni. But tolo lokabuya paloni anifakangi mara lokabu fika nje kuri mama me afamba ngane na paloni mara uyijile xikolweni. So lata tiba kuri okay looks ajile stam affecta kuri atop abajana and na leswi ngana so fridge because sometimes ne me never nimniketa mara xikolweni utaje. And the food na feeding scheme is xikolo ayibana nkwabo ka baba jaka feeding scheme batsala ku okay kuna lista so ku bana bajaka feeding scheme kuna bana banga jack feeding scheme so loko kuna batswari nga nabo ba stubborn ku okay me never ni xilahle and utamnika nwana ye so loko wa menwana ngamnikwa me mara xikolweni utayija so anti ku ri
makale why my option ya we irama ntsena but uchelang bya ngwana rama fela because ga botsa botsa ngwana ga tlwele paloni tsantse a rwale something is a viable alternative ya paloni
loko ani nice bana ba ine ba kulisa ka generation le ya sweswi loko nomyendlela xikhaftini nimchela cheese na paloni and then maybe nifaka tomato or something and then manje loko no faka rama obviously never to mama no anlabi rama me and then loko no faka jam no mama laba paloni so paloni vele is the most good ngwana aja paloni. So I'm not mara never avoid from school. Yeah.
And I think that's the conversation that we should be having. At the schools, what do they tell the teachers and the guys that do the feeding schemes? Because if that has become a staple food, if this has become a staple food, what then is their alternative? Because I understand when it comes to our feeding schemes as well, there is a procedure and I think this process called meat let's go to Sisanda. Sisanda uthi wenza icrosser for inyanga yonke and then uvese kuthiwa ke ukudla kule ntsholo sizawulamba mosikanti akwenziwa yini ama test about this. You know, that's another thing. To be honest, abantu abaningi even after Sunday abazange beyilahle ipaloni. And abakaze belahle in English because singabantu abahluphekayo and sithenga icrosser once akufani nobantu laba kuthiwa batha abanemali eningi because bona bangayishintsha icrosser anytime. For us sibudgetile masistu banika malaka and wenze njani about lezi zinto esefridge ama cold meat akhona usuwalahlile noma na usalindile ukuthi uzokuthiwa mhlawumbe kungenza ukuthiwa qhubekani inwahle.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dumelo Malebani. With the polony, what I did is I didn't throw it away because they say it's only Rainbow and Enterprise.
It's Enterprise.
Yes, Enterprise. So we have Escort. So, but we're afraid to eat it because we're not really sure if the disease is also into the Escort brands or what. That's our problem right now, but we haven't removed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember Minister Ushile Guti, for now it's only Rainbow and Enterprise, but however an advisor Ogutabantu Bati do away with the polony and Russians and nama Viennas and everything because ngenza ukuthi kube nomngozi abakuthola ekugcineni nakho konke. But into ebuhlungu ukuthi Nicolette like I was saying ukuthi siningi singabantu asizilahlile lento but okubuhlungu kuthiwa liyakwazi igciwane as well ukubhebhetheka efridge ngaphandle kokuthi nje ukuthi contents le mali sikhona efridge nga affecta even izinto eziningi. If I can put you in a spot Nicolette ipoloni yakho
angidli mina ipoloni.
Oh wow.
But unfortunately mina ipoloni ingikhozela ama tonsils so angidli. But asibuzelana, you know, it seems as if and we've seen it on social media, people are making fun of this, they're creating memes and I don't know if it's South Africa's way to be dealing with this crisis. But Mama, do you think as South Africans, we know other countries have banned the importing of these brands into their country. Do you think as South Africans we're taking this outbreak very seriously?
Number one, on social media, people are actually making fun out of this. So my concern is that Thetha serious because it's actually affecting us. Another thing, carry paloni asimfundisi. Singabazali fanele ngabe siqala endleni ukuthi lalela ke sisi uma ngabe bowucarry balloon, now there's a problem ebalonini. Kukhona izinto abazifakile. Yes, kukhona izinto abazifakile ezingekho right, ezingakuphathisa isisu, ezingakuphathisa ikhanda. So now for this week or for this month, angeke ngize ngikunike iballoon.
All right. Asibambe lapho tali, because we need to go to a quick ad break. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. Even just outside of listeriosis, the diseases don't want to do long run and South Africa, how do we control them?
Samense breaking siyabuya with amaguest ethu sidingida lona udaba namhlanje.
If you have just joined us, the outbreaks are a disease in South Africa, but with a specific focus on listeriosis. Hey, this has been the worst outbreak in the entire world, and we're trying to unpack the listeriosis and how do we make sure it gets stopped instead of it spreading across the country and killing more people. On the couch, we are joined by Chantal Clark, who lost her sister in December last year to listeriosis, but also joined by Thetha Andile, who's the founder of Black Land First. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, Chantal. Tell us a little bit about, when you guys are finding out that your sister Sonette has got this disease, what was actually happening, what happened, what were the symptoms and all that?
They didn't know, so she presented with severe headache.
Okay.
She was nauseous, vomiting. It was actually the common meningitis signs and symptoms that she was presenting with. She went to the hospital. Initially, they only said it was meningitis. They thought it was meningitis. So she was unconscious for 3 days actually, and then she regained consciousness, but still continuously irritable. She was constantly in pain. Her whole body was aching, a constant headache. She was just not herself, even though she was awake for a few days.
Okay.
And then actually when she was brain dead, when she went to the ICU, they first said they think this is listeriosis.
Can I ask something, Chantal? Sure. How old was your sister? Because we've been told about that people who are older and kids are the ones who are very much in danger of this listeriosis. How old was your sister?
She was 34 and she was pregnant just prior to that, yes.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And how quickly did the nurses and doctors, I mean, you say they started off saying it's meningitis, and then it took them quite a while for them to actually diagnose it as listeriosis.
Yeah. I would say that the treatment, or it took them not quite a while, it took them a very long time, because my sister was that was a real emergency.
Yes.
The fact that she was completely unresponding, she was not unresponsive.
Yeah.
She was, if she woke up, she didn't know at all what was going on around her.
Sure.
She was just combative. The common head, irritable person that has swelling on the brain, or even patients that have head injuries, they present with those symptoms.
Yes.
So she was in the hospital at 1 o'clock that day. At 9 o'clock, they first did a scan on her. She didn't have any drip or anything on her. She, the next day, they started her on antibiotics. So I was crying my eyes out, because I told him that Saturday night, it was the Friday that she went to the hospital. The Saturday night, I told him, I can't stand this, because my sister is not responding. She's unresponsive. What are they going to do? So she was in the casualty department at Steve Biko Academic Hospital, and she was not on a monitor. The common things that you would expect from someone that is in such a severe emergency state, that they didn't do anything. Well, then I spoke to one of the doctors, and the doctor told me they are doing everything they can. They're giving this medication, and they have seen patients that woke up and patients that died.
Let me come to you, Andile, as a BLF, you are taking these companies to a court. We've heard the stories about the enterprise product, and again, there was i-Tiger Brands, of which the statement she abantu abaningi bengazi noma baxolisa or abaxolisi yini. So allegations afana nalawo because so why are you guys taking them to court?
Izolo sivula amacala amabili lokuqala i-murder.
Okay.
Lesibili attempted murder because 180 people, including your sister, would have been those who, in our view, poisoned for profits. There was absolutely no reason why 180 people in this country got murdered by these companies. We know that over 1,000 of our people were also affected. So for the 180, we said that is a murder. That's murder.
Murder.
That's mass murder. And you know, this enterprise, for instance, says it knew 18 days ago that its factories were producing these deadly viruses. They did nothing. They did not tell the nation. They did not recall their products. They just continued to sell us this poison that kills us.
But Andile, the CEO of Tiger Brands comes out and says, Kohore, yet while they've got the listeria virus or bacteria in their products, it's not the one that actually is linked to these deaths. How do we then prove, you know, even though they've got the listeria in their products, you guys are linking these deaths to them?
Yeah, it is not up to the murderer to tell us
what's happening.
That, oh, I did not kill this person. We see the body, we know it is your factories that is producing this. So it is not up to them really. It is, we know the minister came out, we know that research has shown that at this point, this virus, if you like, come from their factories. And so they must, there is a direct link. It is not up to them to tell us. They knew 18 days ago, did not tell us. Even if it was not, as they claim, the strain that kills people, why did they warn us? Because they don't care. And this is the problem of South African business, white business in particular. They know that they control the media. Parliament today, the thing that shocks black face, land faces, Parliament is not calling these companies to come to account as now.
But Andy, what are you trying to achieve out of Ubaba Power? Do you want the companies to close down, or do you want them to pay for what?
In fact,
what is BLF trying to
it will be good if they close down.
But is it the mandate of BLF?
It is absolutely. We care. We take care of all. Black first, land first, take care of all people. We must not allow companies to kill our people. And when we're talking about polony and these types of processed food, this is what black people do. Now, let me tell you, we are saying let them pay compensation for those people that were murdered, pay compensation for people who went to hospital. But the thing that we're not discussing is small-scale businesses in the townships. Amakota or Spatlo. It's how our people survive every day. When you say you stop Kota and Spatlo, it means you are killing business. Our government is not saying pay compensation for those because these are black businesses in the townships.
All right, let's get a comment from Tanya, who's the mother of Sonet. You lost your daughter, ma'am. Let's tell us a little bit, maybe if you can just take us a bit step back. Did the doctors tell you where she had contracted the listeriosis? And then also, how do you feel about, you know, BLF taking these companies to court?
Yeah, at first they didn't tell us, you know, it was listeriosis. I was in a meeting with people from Steve Biko because I was very upset the way they treated my daughter. That was not the right way to do it. The things that they did, we talked about that, like a stupid temperature. They said, oh, they need doctor's orders just to take a temperature.
To take temperature.
Because I was with my daughter, she was unconscious and she was burning of fever, really, really. And I was asking the guy, please, it was a male nurse, please take a temperature. And he was just telling me, we did it at 6 o'clock in the morning. And on my watch, it was 11:20. He just turned around and walked away. Sure. That was actually heartbreaking because what is the most important thing of for a patient to have such a high temperature is to see, and somebody else told me, but she is, one of the other sisters told me that she was on antibiotic. So definitely something was not working because she had this constant temperature. And another thing, every time when we got the drip was not running, not at all.
But did you
so the
guys
most important thing that actually was supposed to reach her body was not reaching her body.
It's a very sad situation. There's a comment coming in as well from Usfuto Kumalo uthi ngiyafisa ukwazi ukuthi singawupheka kanjani upoloni ngoba kuthiwa masupheka azofa amagciwane na. This is a situation whereby abantu abamnyama basenenkinga as well ukuthi they can't get rid of ukudla kwabo because imali ayikho ukuthi if ngikhambisa lokhu ngizoba nani, so they're trying to find ways to make sure ukuthi bayakwazi ukuthi bakudle lokudla but in a safer way.
Especially if we regulate from those bulk, you know, there's these intermediaries but selling these things in bulk. It's not as if you bought it straight from a retailer when you can go back to the retailer. Now bulk to say it's just a very sad situation that we're currently in as a country.
Asamen say breaking must be a breaking so bestinge to double fana lo nanokuthi amabhizinisi abantu abamnyama aba affected kanjani especially laba abadayisa amakota nephahlo emalokishini. Asamen say breaking.
We live in a sea of disease. When we think the word outbreak, we think about things that explosively affect people and make people to become ill. Our two biggest outbreaks are tuberculosis and HIV. And of course, everyone's tired of hearing of those, and we don't usually refer to those as outbreaks, but they actually are. Some outbreaks are very difficult to get to the bottom of, and this listeria outbreak is an example of that. Listeria can be a really horrible illness. In people who have underlying risk factors, like persons who live with HIV or persons who are on cancer chemotherapy, or the elderly, people over 65, can cause meningitis, that's infection of the brain, bacteremia or sepsis when the bloodstream gets infected, and it can cause pregnant moms to lose their babies. The food is contaminated from what we call a point source. Although there might be listeria in chicken, raw chicken, listeria in raw mince, or listeria in boerewors, the strain of listeria that we're seeing in patients all comes from the same source. And in order to prevent this outbreak, we have to find that source and stop that source from being contaminated. There's specific teams and dedicated people within the Department of Health and the NICD and the NHLS who do all the testing and the diagnosis and the treatment, busy doing our best to try and trace the contaminated foodstuff to source so that we can stop that food from reaching the public. When food is contaminated at a production facility, it contaminates what we call a ready-to-eat food. Even the 5 keys to food safety, which can help in most circumstances, may not be as effective. The bacteria is in the food that we eat. So this speaks to what we call food safety. Obviously, we don't want to eat food that's contaminated by any bacteria. The 5 keys to food safety include hand washing before and after meals, using safe food ingredients, cooking food thoroughly, being sure that food is stored at the right temperatures, and separating raw vegetables and food from cooked food are all ways that we can use to prevent contaminated food from contaminating other food, and also to prevent ourselves from contaminating food when we cook.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Sakuluma about this outbreak, listeriosis, and nguthi senze njani about our food. Must we throw it away? Must we boil it? Senze njani as men, because we are all panicking about this. We do have amaguest on the couch njengamanje. Nyaniso Mashaba is the farmer, and Utaisa Kulgaza, the cold meat hampers, as well as Dr. Junior Thomas, or head of for the Center for Ethnic Diseases, and also a representative Department of Health. Welcome to Daily Thetha, guys. Thank you. Nyaniso, angifuna ukwazi njengamanje because I saw a couple of tweets, people asking what must we do with our paloni? Must we throw it away? Must we get rid of it? Because like Nicolette was saying, it's not like you bought it from the shop, but you are just supporting a small business on Facebook, WhatsApp, or wherever. And now, chances must I get rid of my palonis and cold meat from now on, or there's a way?
Yeah, thank you. And welcome to the viewers at home. Yeah. And you know, Mina, I'll come from the business side of things where, like you said, that people have bought some of these things. Yeah. And first and foremost, what I would like to say, you know, in regards to enterprise and RCL, that what has been found, I think mostly it would be recklessness, you know, that comes from the production facilities of those people. Yeah. You know, in regards to those two companies, I would say people must not take a risk. Must not take a risk, even though there are other companies, like the products I'm selling, they are coming from an escort, and then from their side, not that I'm doing marketing from them, but they can be safe to consume. And there are other means, like you have said, that any bacteria, like listeriosis is like any bacteria. When you expose it, you know, to higher temperatures, you know, in terms of cooking and whatnot, you kill the bacteria and handling of food. You know,
but there's something like ipaloni. Most of us, we don't even heat it or fry it or anything like that. Can I now boil my paloni ukuze ngikwazi ukuthi ngiqhubeke ngidle like umuzwa saying ukuthi ipaloni sesefridge namanje?
Yeah, I think maybe this affords us an opportunity also as well, you know, to disseminate information, you know, in the right way. Yeah. I think this affords us an opportunity, you know, how to handle food in general. Because this is not only the only bacteria that is there, because there are Salmonella also, Brucella and so forth. We have had food poisoning until ages ago. Even this one, this what we have right now, listeriosis, it has been there even in the US from the 90s. You know, according to the studies that they've had, about 1,850 people affected this thing, you know, on a yearly basis. About 490 of people die, you know, on a yearly basis. I think this affords us the education, which we need to disseminate information. And I would say even the minister, he was reckless, in fact, at some point to zero in only on the spatial or quarter business. Because with these products, you even use them, you know, on big business like pizza and whatnot. You see? So I think we must educate and more education.
All right. Let's bring in Dr. Thomas and get an understanding, you as, you know, being in an authoritative position, what should people be doing right now? Because if you look at, you know, this listeriosis that has come out and other diseases that when they break out, it seems as if for the first few months, government kind of keeps it hush-hush. And then when it becomes a serious matter or what is presumed to be a serious, that's when we get the communication. So what should we be doing right now? Should we be panicking? What are we supposed to be doing?
So, I mean, look, I think it is important. You've mentioned this is the largest outbreak, and the World Health Organization has confirmed it. That's ever been recorded worldwide. And obviously, you know, many people have died to date. So in terms of trying to stop further people from getting ill, what we need to do is make sure that everyone stops eating the contaminated food. So
there's no boiling option, there's none of that?
No, and I'll tell you why. You know, initially, we thought it may be an option because obviously it's a widely available food source. It's a relatively cheap form of protein, and it's a very commonly consumed food source. And boiling it, or, you know, cooking at high temperature in the microwave or frying it would inactivate the bacteria. However, what we found when we did the investigation at the Enterprise Foods factory in Polokwane is that the outside casing of the polony was also contaminated, as were, you know, the little clips on the side of the polony, and it has those little plastic folds. We sampled inside there, and we isolated the listeria as well. So the concern is that it's not just inside the meat.
It's everywhere.
It's outside as well. And so that's why I think the minister said, in order just to be safe, for the time being, everyone should avoid all ready-to-eat processed meats. And this is because often you walk into a supermarket and the polony brands are all stacked next to each other. And you've got this contamination on the outside.
And it's going everywhere.
And then you know, all the other products it comes into contact with, you know, then are possibly contaminated. And it's the same in your fridge. You have it in your fridge, maybe you have some cheese lying up next to it, and cheese you're typically not going to cook. Eggs lying up next to it, you know, and even though you cook eggs, you don't always cook them completely necessarily. So, you know, that's why this drastic level of safety was advised by the minister when he did his address on Sunday.
So after hearing information at Ifan Nalena, how do you think this is going to affect your business?
You know, I think maybe first and foremost, maybe to pose a question on the doctor.
Yeah.
Wouldn't maybe say the minister say, let's pull out everything on the shelves and not only zero in on just enterprise? Why didn't that pronouncement come out?
Okay. So, I mean, in terms of the evidence we have,
yes,
we know definitively, and I think there is no doubt from a scientific point of view,
yes,
that the Enterprise Foods factory in Polokwane is the source of the outbreak.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Regardless of what the CEO of Tiger Brand says.
I'm speaking from a medical and scientific evidence-based point of view.
All right.
We found the outbreak strain extensively in the environment. Over a quarter of the samples that we took there, and we took over 300, were shown to have the outbreak strain. And in addition to that, there were a lot of other non-outbreak listeria. 30% in total of everything we took in that factory tested positive for listeria.
Okay, so that's where the 30% comes from. That's confusing people.
Yes,
right. So we know that factory is the source.
Okay. All right.
Cool. Let's go to the ad break. But before we go to the ad break, there's something coming from Unano Obinyalo. Uti, imagine how the street kids and those families living up by dump site gonna suffer the hardest, especially Tina Labavanta Bahamba Mkwatena Benzo Zonke lezo zinto. But let's be careful. I don't know how can we make sure that I green ifige bona this thing. Some separate in after this.
I guess that's why they say there's not. Welcome back to Daily Tits and outbreaks, but focusing on listeriosis. What causes these kind of outbreaks in the country, and also how do we control them? We're joined on the couch by Yolandi now, who's a microbiologist, been a microbiologist for almost 16 years, and she works as a lab general manager at the Food Consulting Services. But welcome to the show, Yolandi. But before we come back to the couch, let's take a call from Tabango Soweto. Ntate Tabang Dumela?
Dumela Re
gona le kae? When our concern is genetically modified food,
yes, you know what, I've been comparing some plants and vegetables and all that. You know, if you compare those veggies and fruits, I mean, you find that that's how that's how, you know, I the poison element what the veggie and fruit in sale. And then even the chicken, you check the chicken tests already, how big they are. We don't know already young. I mean, those polonies and everything, they are made from those chicken. So this one is so fun. And then a community arona happy. I think government is serious if one of the owning city because like this morning I went to buy some fake cakes, and then to find out you know, there's still palonis there, there's still specials and everything. I mean,
and where is that? Can I ask, where is that? In Naledi. Okay, Naledi.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, and then what's West Naledi is every corner you go, there's continuous the quarter. Even now, like even last night, I saw a guy actually got an elevation and everything. So they're not taking this warning serious.
All right, Tabang, just listen on the TV because we've got Yolandi now here who maybe be able to comment for us. He's talking about genetically modified food, and he's saying that that's some of the reasons because we don't know what's in that, you know, in those kind of foods, whether it is our chickens that are being grown in that way or our vegetables and fruit. Can you maybe comment on that?
I don't think that they've done extensive tests to see what the effect is of genetically modified food and bacteria on them. But in this case, I don't think it has any bearing because listeria has been around for eons. I mean, we've had it centuries. We were saying earlier on that since the 1900s, we've had recorded cases, and it's been there in all countries, not just South Africa. And in this case, I don't think people need to even think about genetically modified foods. We've all known about different organisms like salmonella, we were talking about earlier, cholera, all those type of things that we've had in outbreaks. But what makes listeria so much worse is the mortality rate. Because where, for example, someone that gets salmonella poisoning or typhoid fever or whatever, we can have thousands of cases of it, but we only have a mortality rate of up to 20% maximum. Listeria, if you do get it in, the mortality rate is about 30 and above sometimes. And also, which makes it so difficult to find the source, and that we found with this outbreak, is that it has such a long incubation period. So where salmonella and those type of organisms, you can literally, it's up to 12 days or 15 days, and it's easy to remember what you've eaten if you've gone to a restaurant or if you bought something at a shop or whatever. But with listeria, unfortunately, easily 60 days, 70 days, even recorded cases of up to 90 days. And I mean, if I'm not sick, and I can't even remember what I had 2 months ago. So now think about someone that's in hospital and they're sick and they're not feeling well, they can't communicate properly, and you have to try and get some kind of a history to find that source, and it's very, very difficult.
Dr. Junior, a quick one, because more often than not, when there are outbreaks like these, people always, associate them with poverty. If you look at your malarias, your choleras, and everything, does this listeria has to do with the poverty, people who live below the poverty line?
No, absolutely not. Listeria doesn't distinguish by class.
Doesn't discriminate.
No. I mean, more and more we're seeing listeria outbreaks increasingly being reported from highly industrialized, well-resourced countries, and it's all to do about production of food. Once you also start having mass production on an industrial scale, if you get listeria contaminating a processing environment, just the mere fact that you've got it there, you can contaminate such a large volume of food items that the potential to cause an outbreak is so much greater. But no, it doesn't discriminate, and it can cause outbreaks by contaminating foods of such a wide variety that's why we're seeing it increasingly across the world.
All right, we've got social media coming in from Lindo Butle. She says, please discuss the symptoms we should look out for, especially in pregnant women, and what the diagnostic procedures are. And I would like to actually, for me, I've got a bit of a story. I went to the hospital. I had a headache and I had kind of symptoms of it, and it seemed as if the doctors were very hush-hush about speaking about what was wrong with me. And eventually I left the hospital being told that you have something, but we're not really sure what it is. Can you maybe tell us a little bit of the symptoms? I don't know if either one of you has expertise to respond on the symptoms, and also how is it diagnosed?
So in terms of symptoms, I think it's extremely important to remember that most otherwise healthy people, even if they have eaten food contaminated with listeria, will not develop disease. Listeria targets certain groups of people at high risk. And this includes pregnant women, number one. And people over the age of 65, and anyone with a weak immune system. In our population, we've seen that HIV is a very high risk factor. People with cancer, diabetes, kidney and liver disease are also at high risk. Now, the least serious form of disease is what one would commonly call gastro or a stomach bug. It's fever with diarrhea. And that usually goes away on its own in 2 to 3 days and doesn't typically need treatment. But in these high risk groups, people may develop the serious complications. When the bacteria enters the bloodstream and causes a general infection throughout the body, like a septicemia, or when it reaches the bloodstream, it travels to the brain and causes an infection of the brain called meningitis. In the case of pregnant women, the pregnant woman herself may not feel very ill. She may just have a mild fever, flu-like illness, perhaps some diarrhea. But the bacterium gets into the bloodstream and travels to her unborn child. And it is the unborn child that bears the consequences. Miscarriages, stillbirths, premature labor, and for those babies that do make it to birth, many of them are born with severe disease.
Wow, that's very sad. Let's quickly go to the comments. You have a question, my sister.
My name is Petunias Kosana, everyone of all protocol observed. My concern about this whole thing is that why is it in our country that people have to die for certain things to come to be realized and to be spoken about. Because as I just heard that this thing was known like few weeks or few months ago. Why were we not like told about it? And then I also want to know, like, I went to buy groceries in multiple shops. So I want to know, is it fine for me to go to a certain shop and take the whole thing in one shop? Are they going to accept it? Or should I try to like remember which one did I pick from which shop?
When is it a crisis?
Yeah.
Well, I think in this case, unfortunately, in our country, we're struggling as microbiologists and especially as food microbiologists because we don't have the proper regulations in South Africa. Whereas in countries like the USA, they have very, very strict regulations. So at this point, us as independent laboratories, we advise our clients that you should test for Listeria. We've been aware that Listeria is obviously a very, very bad bacteria, and most of our clients test for it on a regular basis, and they have a zero tolerance for it. So they don't allow for any growth of it in their products, whereas unfortunately, there are people out there that test for it maybe, but they enumerate, which is what we call, they count how many. So they allow some.
Just come in there. We really want to hear what you've got to say, but we just have to go for a quick ad break. When we come back, we'll pick up from that. Because we also want to know, the fruits, now cold meats, next. Please do stay with us after the break. If you've just joined us, the outbreaks, the disease, focusing on listeriosis. And we've just got an understanding what are some of the symptoms that one needs to look out for. But we know the impact of these outbreaks is not just on the businesses. We know the share price, your Tiger Brands has plummeted, but also small businesses are suffering. But most importantly, people are actually dying. We've got a social media coming in from Tate Morobe. I also wonder if our public health facilities are ready to attend to patients who will be coming in because of this listeriosis. Truth is, people will queue for 8 hours before they get the help. Kini, I think that's also the situation that has happened with the clerks, where the public health system might not have had the right infrastructure to help those in need.
It is a very sad situation indeed, Nicolette, on your side, but we do have Tanya Clark. Just a closing comment. What would you like to see going forward to other people, as we have had what we are talking about on the couch, Tanya? Your microphone, please.
I would just like to say to pregnant women, if they lose their babies, please ask that they do more tests. Maybe, more blood tests to see if the bacteria is not in their system. Because I have lost my daughter unnecessarily because they didn't do any tests on her while she was losing her baby.
Sure.
Very sad indeed, Nicolette. But let's go to Andile Mkiltama as well. A question of Buza on the couch. Andile.
No, I'm quite shocked that even the scientists are very soft on these food-producing companies. We should have said, as scientists, shut down this factory. It produces poison. It does not produce food. But we haven't said that. We only said people return the stuff to these shops. And our people, from what I can see, are confused. But Bagiti, firstly, return all those polonies. Do not touch them. Demand to be paid. Go to any of those places where they sell these polonies and say, you want your money back. Do not eat them. And our government, we must tell it, bring money to small-scale businesses, bring money to schools, and our people election because ayikho enye indlela ngaphandle kokusidla amapoloni. And then I want to argue that scientists are bored or are with these food-producing companies. GMOs. In South Africa, 90% of the food, maize. Black people eat maize 3 times a day, umbila, or ipap. Ipap in Amajim, or in Europe, we know they will not allow humans to eat this. Our scientists are not coming out and saying, do not do this. We can't allow white monopoly capital to control itself. And we are saying as Black First, Land First. Part of the solution, long term, Americans, I see Americans in South Africa today. It is because of the stuff that we eat.
Right.
We must control the land, get us our land back, so that we can produce and we know what we eat. Right now, we don't know what we're eating. We're being killed for profits.
All right, let's hear it. Dr. Juno. Kini, let's perhaps hear from Dr. Juno. If number one, are you guys too soft? And number two, are you being bought out?
So firstly, Our role as the National Institute for Communicable Diseases is to guide the investigations and to find the source. And that's exactly what we did. In terms of deciding what regulations to enact and legislature, that's up to the Department of Health.
Yes.
So as a scientist, I'm not a lawyer. My mandate has been fulfilled. We
and
did
you can
the
only
science.
do up to your mandate.
Absolutely. So, from then on, it's really out of my hands. But what I can say is that I'm absolutely certain that the outbreak originated from the Enterprise Foods factory in Polokwane.
All right, Dr. Thomas, I think everybody at home is watching and they're wondering, most people are thinking, I've eaten these products, so now I'm a bit worried. Can I just walk into any clinic in South Africa and say, I want to be tested for listeriosis?
So, we've consulted with World Health Organization and with other public health institutes worldwide. And typically, what happens with listeriosis outbreaks when they find the source is that many people who've eaten those foods become very concerned and panicked.
The panic mode.
Now, firstly, there's no test that can be done to see if you've been exposed to listeria.
So you have to wait for the symptoms?
You have to wait for the symptoms, unfortunately.
That's scary.
But if you are otherwise well, even if you have eaten, some of these named products, then just be on the lookout. But if you belong to one of those high-risk groups I spoke about earlier, if you develop any fever, diarrhea, or fever just with flu-like illness, or headache, vomiting, confusion, then you must go to your healthcare facility. But please tell them that you have eaten these products in the months before you fell ill. I think that's critical, and especially pregnant women.
All right.
And there's a comment coming in on social media. I see Nicolette Tamsanga Mngwane uti, has the government found a cure to those found having listeriosis yet? That's a question as for But Asanda, do you have a question?
No, what I wanted to comment is that the problem, like South Africa, is that they start taking things seriously once someone or other people have died, instead of doing something to prevent it from happening in the first place, because apparently they knew who it was going to happen and didn't tell us. So when someone dies, who is responsible for all of that thing?
I don't know, but must I ask Yolanda on this one? Do we have to, someone may show us for us to start investigating and finding out what's a real actually cause for it? Yolanda?
Well, I think, as I said earlier as well, unfortunately in South Africa there aren't any regulations at this stage, which is a major issue. And for us over the years, we've said it has to be a regulated organism, because what makes it so much worse is where other organisms, like I said, the mortality rate, and also most of them stay in your gut. Whereas with listeria, it's motile and it actually moves into your bloodstream, like Juno said, and it goes everywhere else. And then there's so many different symptoms now that people are confused, and that's also why it took so long for people to know what was going on, because after the fact we might have also found out that a lot of people that passed away or that were sick actually had listeriosis and they just weren't aware of it.
Will it stop at cold food, ready to eat meat, or is it going to now move to other food products? Are we sure that this is where we're stopping it in South Africa?
Look, at this stage, like Juno said as well, we are 100% sure that the outbreak in this case is because of the enterprise facility. But bear in mind that you can still get Listeria monocytogenes, or the illness from that bacteria, from other foodstuffs. So at this stage, the outbreak is because of this factory, but there are obviously still other risk factors. So if you are pregnant, even if they close the factory down, if you are pregnant or you fall into one of those risk groups, stay away from the food items that normally harbor listeria.
Because of time, we have to go and discuss this child. Thank you very much for going to
Yes, tomorrow we're coming back with love and death. Please do carry on with the conversation on all our social media pages. Thank you very much for tuning in.